What's going on, everyone? So the Lakers going into this season, we had a lot of conversations and a lot of the hype on this Lakers team is the depth in which this team has, which they do. They have a ton of depth, ton of talent, ton of size, ton of versatility, all of those things, right? And one of the beauties of that depth is like when there are injuries, you can weather the storm, right? That's the whole idea. If LeBron needs a night off, or AD needs a night off, or Reeves, or D'Lo, or whomever, or let's say it's Reeves and LeBron, right? Most cases, you're usually in trouble. But it was like with this team, you have so much depth, so much talent, you'd be able to weather and ride that storm. And depth is great. Problem is depth can only get you so far if the majority of your depth is healthy. When half of your team is out, it doesn't matter how much depth you have, you're going to struggle and you're going to have these issues. And that's what we're seeing with the Lakers. The Lakers have key core guys that are out with injuries, and it's just this endless vicious cycle, it seems like, of just constant injuries. Now, I would rather get this out of the way now, right? Better game 7 than game 70. Right? Better to have the Lakers kind of have to figure this out and ride this wave now than, midway point or towards the end of the season when you're trying to get ready and healthy for the playoffs. Guys are starting to fall apart and things are just becoming an absolute mess. I'd much rather have it early in the season than later, but there's also the concern that this is the beginning of a trend, which you don't want to see. We get Taurean Prince back finally, but we lose Jackson Hayes, and then Anthony Davis gets hurt. Now, Anthony Davis said he's fine and he'll be ready for the Houston Rockets game, which is great if that's the case. And hopefully we get Rui Hachimura back at that point because we could really use him. But it's like, so many people are panicking and freaking out over just the Lakers and just the poor play. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of concerns. And I've expressed and stressed the concerns that the Lakers have. But also, it's hard to truly gauge and judge the Lakers right now with all of the injuries in which they have endured. Because it's like, how do we know what this team can truly do when you're missing 4 to 5 of your key rotation guys? 4 to 5 of starters to, your 7th, 8th guy. You're not talking about the 15th and 14th guy. You're talking about literally the core guys that are supposed to be the most impactful and the guys that are leading the charge, right? Like Taurean Prince starting, Jared Vanderbilt starting, Rui argument to start. Jackson Hayes is a guy that can come in and provide just quality backup minutes in a row. I mean, even in the Miami game, do we win that game if we have Jackson Hayes? Now, some people might think no, but I would make the argument that, when Anthony Davis went down, if you would have had Jackson Hayes, you could have played him in a bigger role. Maybe he gets a couple more rebounds that we didn't get. Or maybe he gets a couple lobs because he's a lob threat. Maybe he gets a block shot because he's still, 7 feet, right? Maybe he does impact the game enough that in a 1-point game could be the difference. Right? Maybe he gets an offensive rebound on one of those missed threes late and is able to put it back and we win that game. Right? I mean, there's a lot of what ifs, and I don't want to get too heavily and make excuses, but without the lack of bodies, right? And without having your key guys in there, it's hard to know what this Lakers team looks like and is made of. Right? Like Rui Hachimura, sizable forward, that can play both forward spots, that can rebound, defend bigger players, hit shots, knock down the 3 ball, absolute butter from the mid-range. A guy that can absolutely change the tide of some of these games. Jared Vanderbilt. His energy, his hustle, his ability to almost look like there's 5 of them on the court at once. Like, it's contagious, right? His ability to defend the best player on the other team and slow them down. And then, if this guy gets hot, you throw Vando on it, right? Like, Jared Vanderbilt absolutely can make an impact. Now, I'm not saying that Jared Vanderbilt by himself is the cure-all. I'm not saying Rui Hachimura by himself is the cure-all. There's still a lot of issues with the Lakers that we have seen, right? Lack of energy, lack of effort, rebounding, hitting open shots. Like, there's a lot that's kind of like, just cause for concern. But you get everybody back, that can absolutely be the tide turner. Or you just start getting pieces back. Again, we just got Taurean Prince back. Hopefully we get Jackson Hayes and Rui back for the next game against Houston. That would be nice, right? Maybe, Gabe Vincent comes back, in 2 weeks and he's ready to go, and then he can start hitting shots. I mean, Gabe Vincent is a point of attack guard, a defensive guard, a guy that you can throw and a body that you can, have to defend various players, right? Guy that hopefully he's struggling. When he was playing, he was struggling to knock down the three ball, but he is a guy that is capable of hitting that 38 to 40%. If his shot starts stroking and starts falling in line, guess what? That's going to help the Lakers. As I mentioned with Jackson Hayes, his ability to rebound and just be a big body and a deterrent at the rim and just, be a lob threat and maybe get a couple putbacks or something, right? Maybe that Miami game goes slightly different with him on the court. Right? Maybe his energy is impactful and helpful, right? Because it's one thing you're always going to get with him because he's young. He's going to get limited minutes, right? Like Anthony Davis going down, that could have been a big opportunity for him in which he might have been able to deliver, but we didn't get the opportunity to see that because you're dealing with all these constant injuries. You're dealing with all of these issues from several players, and it's like you gotta right the ship. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta get everybody healthy, everyone ready to go. All right? I don't know what it is. I don't know why we're going through all this. I mean, guys are gonna miss time. It's part of the game. It's part of all sports, right? Guys get injured, guys get hurt. It's not to any of their faults, but it's like we gotta find ways to keep guys on the court and healthy. Now, how much of it is, we've only played 7 games into the season, so it's like more precautionary than anything, right? Because if this was the playoffs, is Rui Hachimura out? Is Jackson Hayes out with the sprained ankle, right? Is, Jared Vanderbilt out, right? Gabe Vincent, do these guys miss the game if it's the playoffs? If they would, then that means it's a much more serious injury than what's kind of being, spread around. It's then in that case, it's like, guys are really that hurt. But I do think a lot of it is just precautionary. I do think a lot of it is just like, hey, we'd rather not risk it. We'd rather, we need guys healthy come playoffs. Last thing we need is, to rush Jared Vanderbilt back 7 games into the season, he ends up tearing something or something bad happens and, knock on wood, and now he's out for the whole season and maybe he even misses the playoffs, right? Where it's like, I'd rather, if he's able to return today, let's give him a couple extra days than we would otherwise, right? But that's the idea of the depth. And look, a lot of these, the Miami game, we still should have won. Even with all of the guys missing, even with everything that has happened, even with Anthony Davis going down, all of that, that was still a game that the Lakers have to win. You have to find a way to win. That Sacramento game was a game that the Lakers have to find a way to win. The Lakers are struggling to win on the road. 2, it's you got to close out games. Those are 2 of the biggest things that you need to be a good playoff team and to win an NBA championship. Win on the road, close out games, right? And so far, the Lakers have failed to do either of those things. I guess the Clippers game, you could argue they failed to close out, right? Many of these games, they kind of failed to close out. But depth is great when you have enough bodies to fill in the gaps, right? Next man up mentality. When you're we're having to rely heavily on a Cam Reddish and a Max Christie who, there were arguments that they wouldn't even get playing time, and now they're playing 30 minutes a game. And it's like, that wasn't what we were expecting, right? It was like Cam Reddish, his defense, he's shown that he can get after it defensively. It's like, that's a guy that you put in spots, right? Like, let's see what Jared Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish look like on the defensive side of the basketball, right? Like, that's what it's about. We got to get AD healthy, for one. Like, again, he says he's good. He says he's ready. It was just like a growing spasm. So it's not like anything significant. But, like, we gotta find a way to get everybody back and healthy. And also, just for the chemistry, right? Just for the chemistry of this team, it's important at this point, right? Like, how do you build chemistry if the team can't gel, right? Like, practices and stuff like that are great. Don't get me wrong. But there's no replicating real game time situations and just, minutes and kind of going through the turmoil of a season. Like, there's a lot that goes into just building chemistry and building that culture of a team beyond you're just, oh, hey, we did a bunch of practices and ran scrimmages and stuff, right? Like, you got to get actual real game in time play. We need to find out who is the actual, like, 9 guys that were running in the playoffs, right? Is it somebody else that emerges? What are our rotation? What are our lineups? What unit works the best? Which, 5 guys are the best? Which 5 guys are second best? Which 5 guys are third best? So we can kind of work that out throughout the course of the season, right? Like, there's so many things that the Lakers need to figure out between now and the time of the playoffs. I still fully expect the Lakers to be good. I still expect them to be fine. I still believe that they're a contender. But it's rough right now. I need guys to be back and healthy is basically the moral of the story. Again, it's great to have depth. It's great to have all these bodies. It's great to have all these people that you can throw out there. And if somebody on any given night just doesn't have it, right? D'Lo's having a rough night. It's like, okay, well, let's throw in a Gabe Vincent. Let's maybe we throw in, a Prince and move Reeves to the point, or let LeBron play point or whatever, right? Like, you can do different things. You can throw different bodies. It's another thing when it's like, oh, D'Lo doesn't have it tonight, or Reeves doesn't have it tonight, or Wood doesn't have it tonight, or AD doesn't have it, or whomever doesn't have it tonight. And it's like, well, who else can we put in? Well, nobody, because we have no more players. I mean, we were down to 6 rotation guys in this game with a roster that has 14 guys that you would imagine could play any given moment, right? Like, that's a problem. We got to get healthy. We got to right the ship. But anyway, as always, I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Do you think that this is a point of concern? Do you think, like, no, not yet, it'll be fine, it's early in the season, guys will get healthy, we'll right the ship, and then we'll be good? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked the video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. I will see you all in the next one. Thank you.